are you now?
Good, and you?
Not so bad. Welcome to How Are You Now?
Hi.
The toughest Letterkenny podcast in the United States.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. It's going to be season 3's tagline, right?
Right. We're home of Fuck Fight FERDA.
Oh, man.
The Letterkenny Degens.
Okay, now explain all of that.
Well, I'm working on merch or swag or whatever you want to call it and it's going to be, we've created Fuck Fight FERDA on our own version of Fuck Marry Kill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to think of stuff and you had that idea. I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think of that in the first place. So anyway, I'm working on that. And I've got some stuff done. We'll probably be discussing that. And,
oh, yes.
And,
and
getting that
with
available.
one of our former guests probably too, who
Probably.
happens to own a clothing company.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got ideas for
Awesome.
stuff. So let's talk about the show.
Yes.
So
who are we?
We are Dean and Tiara.
Yay.
And we
your
are
neighborhood awkward podcast hosts.
who are also super fans of Letterkenny.
Super.
And we have been running this show since December of last year. We are through seasons 1 and 2. So that's 13 total episodes now. And throughout those episodes, we have reached almost 15,000 downloads. I would imagine by the time that folks start downloading this tomorrow, the way things have been going, we will hit 15,000 downloads tomorrow. I would imagine. We're about 300 shy right now.
Oh my God.
And
it's fucking crazy,
I
man.
know. And on Facebook, we've reached 775 total members at this point. 540 just in the last month, in the last 28 days.
Shit.
Twitter, we're at 237, and we are in lots of country. Not every country, but lots of.
Okay.
We are in, of course, the U.S.
Of course.
And Canada.
Of course.
As you may expect. We are also in Argentina, Ireland, Scotland, England, Spain, France, Germany, Sweden, Russia, Serbia, Israel, Kuwait, South Africa, India, the Philippines, and Australia.
Some of those are pretty close to being accurate accents,
Well,
based solely on my own experience
watching movies.
A few people and yeah. Honestly, the Australian and the South African are the only accents that I've actually heard in real life. Well, no, Scottish, but I couldn't actually understand what was being said.
Well, I didn't do a Scottish accent there.
Oh,
but
that's right, you didn't, which you do most of the time.
I do
at home,
but
yes.
I didn't need it.
So what I find really interesting, is that I was a part of roller derby for a really long time. Mm-hmm. So at some point or another, I had roller derby friends pretty much all over the world.
Right.
But I've been retired for over a year now, and I slowly cut away the periphery, so to speak. And I've got maybe 200 friends or so that I actively talk to, and maybe 30, 40 more that I have because, some sentimental.
Right.
Of all those people, I'm pretty sure they all live in the US, Canada, and Australia. And I might be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong here. Friends who I love dearly. Just can't remember
I think
where they live.
you had somebody, you had another one that was over in the UK somewhere. I thought over in London roller derby, or was it Sweden?
It's Sweden, yes,
okay.
But she and I are not. We haven't talked since the old rat's nest.
Totally understand. But I remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember her name, but whatever.
I do, but I'm not going to.
Okay. That's fine. Not important. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. Lots of people from lots of...
I've known lots of people from lots of countries, but that does not equate to 15,000 something, and 700 people on Facebook. It blows my mind.
I mean, out of the last month, 500 plus people have joined.
See, right there, those are not people we know.
No, none of them.
None of them are people we know.
No, I mean, yeah.
That's what's crazy.
Almost all of them been in the U.S. or Canada. Most of them in the U.S. I mean, U.S. fandom people just go nuts. And this,
yeah.
And it's funny, for being people in progressive Seattle, it's funny to see the number of red state folks who are very blue collar, do not have the same politics as we do, or it's a what I'm
There's been no
say,
fighting on the Facebook page.
Oh no, well I'm not going to have that.
I know, but I've never been in a Facebook group ever.
Oh no,
since Facebook started.
No, there are other Letterkenny Facebook groups where there have been.
That's not ours.
No, not ours. No, I because my thing is this, Wayne, if you look at Wayne, who's the protagonist of the show, he doesn't put up with much crap,
right?
And he takes care of his own.
Mm-hmm.
And like right now we have, and I'll put this in the show notes. Right now we have when someone asks for help, you help them, and we have a GoFundMe for a Letterkenny fan who is going through cancer issues right now, and they actually happen to be in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've put their on our Facebook and on our Twitter, their GoFundMe, because we are not in Canada and our healthcare system is shit here. And your sister also, it's hard. But like I said, we take that position of a fella asks for help, you help him, and that's where we are.
Awesome.
So we care about our people. We reach out to them. We have fun with them. We are degens.
Oh God, hell yeah! I mean,
we're not degens from upcountry. We're not them.
No.
But we are our own special flavor of degen. So
definitely.
So
we're the degens that are not from upcountry because at some point I can't remember what episode it was, but he was saying, "Oh, I hate degens, but I especially hate degens from upcountry," or something like that. Like,
yeah.
So we're not upcountry degens.
No. I mean, because I think even Wayne called Katie a degen at one point. So yeah, when with the selling of the weed.
Yep.
So yeah. So anything else we'd like to talk about before we kind of get into our recap of the seasons?
No.
All right.
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, let's start with season 1.
All right.
Season one. Just to start off, it's a big introduction season. We find out about Wayne and Katie and Squirrely Dan and Derry, all the Hicks. This season was where we met Joint Boy, and at the very end, Tyson. We met
Glenn
McMurray, all the Skids, Stuart, Rolled, Devin, the other two that I can't remember their names. I know that they have names, and I just can't remember what they are.
It's better than me.
We meet Jenny. And I think I believe we meet. Do we meet? Yeah, we meet. No, we don't meet Angie in this one.
We don't. We hear about
Angie.
Yeah, and see her name written.
So but we do meet, and we meet Tanis.
Yes.
So
yes.
And so starting off episode 1, we found out about it's basically getting to know Wayne and his friends and the
core group,
right? And so we start off, they're trying to get Wayne to get back on the horse, and then we talk. Katie is talking to Wayne about getting on a dating app.
Yeah,
and she talks to him about Tinder and tells him. Katie introduces Tinder to him, and he's like, "So how does it work?" And she's like, "Well, you just kind of, if you like him, you swipe right, and you send him a message, and something along the lines of,
like, on a scale of 1 to America, how free are you right now?"
Hey, note to all you people out there dating, I would totally go for that line.
Well, right now we're not too free.
No, right now I'm not free, yes, but give me a little bit.
In America.
Oh, Jesus, let's not even go to that. Oh, God, and so much has changed in however many months it's been.
Right. So
I think we recorded that about a month before the episode actually came out, too, so that was a good...
so, yeah, that was...
early November.
Well, no, that would have been December that we put that out. It came out December 28th.
I'm not saying when it came out, honey. I was talking about because the first 4 episodes we recorded before we ever put them out.
Right.
We didn't record them all in the same day.
No. But it was early on December.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So she's trying to get Wayne on a Tinder, and we have our little chat about that, and the Wayne, we find out Wayne just isn't having that. And we talk about all those things. So so it's really, we're learning about the friends, and we learn about Derry, and then there were some unanswered questions that you had about Katie and Derry.
Any unanswered questions that you had about the show, just off of season 1, episode 1. Season 1, episode 1.
Why doesn't Katie treat Daryl very nicely?
Yeah.
Like right off the bat, she's like, go home. Why are you here? Go eat yogurt in your own house,
Yeah, Daryl's got a thing for yogurt. And he's like, we're out of yogurt. It's okay. I brought my own. Well, why don't you go eat it at your house?
Yeah. And it's just over and over. Like anytime he tries to speak to her, she insults him. So there seems to be some kind, again, it's obvious that they grew up together because they talk about childhood parties and other things. I don't know. Is it just, well, that's my brother's best friend, so he's just that dorky guy that's always here.
So things have changed over that even over the first season, because she didn't hold on to that.
No, not really. Every once in a while, it kind of slips out, it seems, but it's not an ongoing gag anymore.
Well, it happens with Bonnie McMurray. It's like it switches from Katie to Bonnie. So in that episode, I think. Personally, this is my own personal opinion. My favorite character in that episode was Glenn. So because we met Glenn, and his just the way he stood out, he was like a shining beacon in Letterkenny. With his didgeridoo and the salty treats, and Jenny and the vaginal intercourse. So that and then learn. So I think probably that whole. That aside from meeting the guys, because I think I'd gotten used to seeing that very first scene with the guys and the hockey players, but Glenn really just kind of
absolutely
polished that off. I mean, do you have
out of that, like the Glenn is really the most memorable thing after now talking about season 1 and season 2.
Right.
That first episode, that's what I remember, is him up on stage and just kind of preaching to all the singles. And I just did air quotes, which of course you can't see. One of these days I will learn that this is not a visual medium. But like that whole scene, I know there's multiple scenes that Glenn is in, but the scene where they finally are like, here are all the singles, and it's all men on their phones. And like there was so much gay undertone in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
It was just fantastic for the little queer in me, because it wasn't done like grossly. It was just kind of like,
because it's a little town, and the gay boys. I mean,
they're all in the closet.
Oh yeah, sure.
But they all also know that everybody else is in the closet.
Right. So that's their singles club.
Yeah, that is their singles club.
And personally, for me, my favorite term learned in this was dick dingers. Because this is where we learned what dick dingers were.
Sure.
That's my own. If you have a favorite.
And what are dick dingers again, baby?
Dick dingers is where you snort cocaine off an erect penis that has been in a bum.
I'm such a 12-year-old boy sometimes. I almost snort laughed on mic here. It's going to happen. Right. If it hasn't already.
It will.
It's like your goal in life.
And so then, I mean, do you have a favorite term?
I'm going to be perfectly honest here. At this point, and considering what the last few months have been in my life, I don't remember specific things of when they happened in which episode.
Sure.
So I think I love the notes that you made. You are you are so much better at our hobby than I am. Mostly because I do too much things. But anyway, like I'll look down, I'll be like, oh, this is okay. Yeah, I can talk about this. I know what's happening here. All right, sure. Yeah. No, I totally go along with it. Stop asking me if I can add to that because
it's okay.
I probably can't.
Well, okay. Feel free to add if you find something to add. Okay. And then my favorite line, and which was my favorite line in that at that time as well.
Oh yes.
What was
welcome to fucking Letterkenny.
Welcome to fucking Letterkenny.
That's how we ended our first episode.
Yeah. I mean, that's the perfect. I mean, welcome to fucking Letterkenny, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that episode was.
So, and then we jump to episode 2, which is the Super Soft Birthday.
Soft Birthday!
And we had our friend Chelsea.
Yay, our first guest.
Yes, our first guest from the No Subject podcast. And
my voice got all high when I was like, yay!
And
sorry.
One of the things that we talked about, and which has come to fruition, is we had a discussion of Letterkenny Live. So yeah,
well, yeah, it's such a good show.
It is,
and it's so easy to watch too.
Yeah.
It is. It's super easy to watch, and you know what? I know it's popular. It's super popular up there because they have a live show that they go and do across the
great nation of Canada.
The different
provinces.
The Great White North.
Why couldn't I say provinces? Oh, my brain is breaking. So yes, they go across all the provinces. I don't know why they just couldn't make they get to Vancouver, make a hard left, and come right on down.
Probably
to Seattle.
because of whatever it takes to come into the U.S. these days, and I don't blame them because I wouldn't want to come into the U.S. if I didn't have to.
Should I get you a tissue, Sally?
In his purse, or maybe his clutch.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So, yeah, I look forward to the day when they can come across and do their Letterkenny Live because
very much that'd be so fun to go to.
It's a fun show. I mean, it's a fun show just recorded, so I can imagine that watching it live would be
even
amazing.
Better.
Yes,
because then you'd even get like the outtakes and stuff.
Exactly, but they are now coming to the States.
Yeah,
but they're not coming out to goddamn Seattle.
What the fuck? Not even close enough to like. I can justify a lot of trips. I am going to Vegas for 2 different concerts this year. I'm going to see Lizzo and I'm going to see Queensryche. Do not make fun of me for listening to music from my middle school. Anyway, like I will travel if I really want to see an artist enough. And I can't spend an extra $400 because they're not coming west of like Montana. I think
they're going to St. Louis.
St. Louis. Yeah. Like, sorry.
Figure it out, guys.
The West Coast. The West Coast. I know that you guys aren't from the province that shares my coastline, but I promise you.
Well, I mean, Coast. And I think tonight or tomorrow, K. Trevor Wilson is performing in Los Angeles. So,
see, that almost would have been worth a drive, but I still have too much school left.
So yeah, also that episode is where we meet Joint Boy and we have a little chat about Joint Boy. And then they start talking about the next fight, which is Joint Boy.
Joint Boy.
And, I think my favorite part of the Joint Boy talk is his entourage.
Got this big entourage of guys, bald-headed, bearded dudes. Looks like a whole bunch of surly uncles.
Surly uncles is
that's the name of your some kind of cover band.
That's the name of my sex tape. No, wait,
no,
that's a different show.
No. See, I was going with what is it? George R. Martin, please.
That is Paul and Storm.
Paul and Storm, yes. Name of your blank cover band?
Right. Surly Uncles is the name of my Letterkenny cover band.
Sure.
Oh, God.
What did we end up coming up with that? We actually talked about that the other day.
We talked about it last night.
Was it last night? Jesus Christ. Okay.
No, I came up with a...
Every day has been like a week long.
I came up with a tour t-shirt of Joint Boy and the Surly Uncles.
Yes.
The Nectar of the Gods tour.
Yes. That was it. Joint Boy and the Surly Uncles. And it was like, it was like Like punk ska. That's what I imagine. 100%. Like that's like checkered Vans and a little bit too tight black jeans like that. And then really high. Like it's yeah. Yeah, that sounds right.
So yeah, we got to meet. So we met Joint Boy. My favorite term, which we learned that episode, was about schneef.
Schneef.
And all the different ways you can hoover schneef. And it was all
So first it was dick dingers.
Right.
And now it's schneef.
Right.
I already sense a pattern.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, because that's how that episode ended, was Derry asking Squirrely Dan if he'd ever done dick dingers, and there was a long pause, and he's like, yeah.
Right.
You ever heard of dick dingers?
That's what it was.
Yeah. So yeah, Squirrely Dan was my favorite, and then my favorite quote in that episode was not by Squirrely Dan.
Yeah.
It was,
worried about seeing my seminal vesicles.
Or like the Florida State Seminole vesicles?
You
the
know,
Florida State Seminole vesicles are going all the way this year.
I thought it was pretty funny back there when he said Florida State Seminole vesicles, but
and nobody laughed.
Nobody laughed.
Don't want to get too kooky with your accessories. So that was Derry's birthday. Basically the episode in a nutshell. Derry's birthday with a mix of fights. So so then the next episode.
Wait, did we?
sorry.
We talked about yours in this one, or we were?
We may have.
Did we already have it by this point, or
Yeah.
we were about to?
No, we'd had it.
We'd had it.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew it was right about that same time. So
Yeah.
that's why I was thinking November was when we
No.
started recording.
No, it wasn't until after
Okay.
after my super soft birthday.
All right.
So,
See, this is why I need you around. I don't remember shit like that.
keep me around so you can remember Letterkenny stuff.
Fuck yeah.
Then we jump into everyone's favorite episode,
Oh, lovely.
the fart book. Drop the.
And again, Heidi, please let us know when you want to do another episode, because you had to be our guest with this episode, and I'm so sorry.
And this episode, in a nutshell, is
Farting.
The Hicks decide to create their own social network of farts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we talk about how great an episode this was. So we have Heidi here with us today to talk about season 1, episode 3
Yay.
of Letterkenny, the best episode of the best show. Fart book.
I swear. Tara's like, you want to record with us? I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And she tells me which episode. I'm like, oh, that's like one episode I didn't want to do.
But what did I say? Don't worry, it's my worst. It's my least favorite episode too.
You know what?
You had a valid point. No, you had the point of it's not a bad idea to do your least favorite and most favorite episode.
Yeah, and then
season.
revisit. Yeah. So definitely we're going to revisit whatever your favorite episode is. You have to think on that one. Which one is your favorite?
I will think on the favorite one.
All right.
But this is definitely my least favorite episode so far. The
Well,
whole
see,
series.
you know, and I was, when I was trying to line up other folks to do this, I got, you're not the only one to say that. So,
this makes me feel better.
So
Yes.
no, it's, having gone.
Well, and most people are like, I really didn't like that episode that much, but I love that show.
Exactly.
Still, same.
But,
It's interesting that we completely, actually, when we started doing this, we never thought that we would get enough guests to be booked out months in advance.
Right.
So we had that thought of doing your favorite and your not favorite. And that's probably not really going to be a thing at this point.
I don't know. We may just, we
might have to see if maybe there's something in more recent season that
Don't
some
know.
of our first season guests want
We'll
to
see.
come back on.
We'll see.
All right.
Then they build fart book, and everybody's got their fart book profile. And what we found some interesting stuff about Stuart's fart book profile.
Right.
How are you now?
Hey, not so bad. Huh? Good, and you?
So it's programmed in for the Hicks. So they bring it back. Stuart, we froze the screen so we could see, because we figured out Stuart is a juggalo.
Yes. Yes, he was wearing juggalo makeup and all of his stuff.
Oh.
And he's a man interested in women and women's. What was it? There was you wrote down all the.
He went to Letterkenny High School.
Yeah. His like fart book profile, we paused the
you
screen
froze it so you could read all of it.
There wasn't a heck of a lot on there. They kept it pretty bare. But yeah,
because it's all about the farts on Fart Book.
Right.
You can't hear it, but I rolled my eyes really hard.
That's another common thing with that episode.
Yep. Well, and I was talking to Heidi because I asked her to pick, some of her favorite parts of the episode, and she said I was rolling my eyes so hard at that episode. So she still remembers that to this day. But yeah, my favorite term that I learned in that was from Gail.
Right.
Was about the Alabama Hot Pocket.
Right. Oh my God.
Which I can't even remember what it is, but it's something about dropping a deuce down. It's gross. It's Gail.
And while she's like, I don't know. She's wiggling in her pants
when they're gonna cut her off from Fart Book.
Yeah.
You ready to drop a Alabama Hot Pocket down your shit?
Oh my God. I love her.
Yeah. She's great.
Love her. We need, hey, Letterkenny Problems, people, listeners, because I'm sure we are so important to you guys. More Gail. More.
Yes.
More. I'm making the sign for more that you can't see because, again, not a visual medium.
So, yeah. And so, yeah, that was my favorite term. My favorite character, even though he was a bit of a dick, was Devin. Because he had some great, the whole thing that he did with the Social Network.
Right. Right. That was actually pretty good acting.
Oh, yeah. It was amazing.
You're just like, what? Wait, what?
We're not coming back for 30%. The whole thing. And then Wayne smacks him.
Right.
Ow! I don't know what happened. But
I think I remember something about this that this was where we started realizing that Stuart had a thing for Katie. Mm-hmm. Because that's the end of this episode that he's watching her fart book.
Right.
And even after we found out that it was all kitten farts.
Right. And he says, I'll go talk to her. And then Wayne's like, the hell you will. Okay, you handle that then. But here's what's funny. Even though this is one of the least liked episodes of the season, it's got the number one. And I did a poll. Of quotes from season 1. It's got the number one quote.
Really?
Oh, there's nothing better than a fart. Except kids falling off bikes, maybe. Fuck, I could watch kids fall off bikes all day. I don't give a shit about your kids.
That's what won?
That's number one.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hands down by 9 votes. Yeah. The second one was from actually the next episode. We'll get to that. Was only 10 votes. So yeah, not everybody voted, but but it was still.
Yes.
So yeah, and I think when we had talked to Chelsea about that, because we had talked about that episode, she said that was one of her favorite quotes. There was so many good quotes in that episode. So yeah, then that's pretty much it for that episode.
Yeah.
Then we jump to episode 4, Wingman Wayne, and we had Brian, who is also from the No Subject podcast and from Common Ground Football podcast. This episode was about basically whoever could get laid first because it was spring break. All the college kids were coming back home. Whoever could get laid first would get $50 off their bar tab. So one of the things about this episode was that we were talking to Brian about is watching it with people who haven't really watched it before and may not, if you jump in at a particular point in time, they may not get it. And so we were talking about that.
It's nuts. And then how much of that is improv versus actually scripted and
right.
And they just, it's just so different. And it's, you have to appreciate dry humor so much because if you don't, you won't get it. I actually was rewatching this episode that we're going to talk about. I was rewatching it again last night. My wife, who has not seen any of this, she's sitting there with me, and I'm laughing, and I look over at her, and she has this look on her face of what in the hell are we watching?
Who the fuck am I married to?
Yeah, she's like, you actually find this funny? And I went, yeah, but you have to watch it. Like, you can't just jump in episode 4. Like,
no,
you gotta start at the beginning or watch some of the YouTube stuff. Otherwise, you won't get it. And she's like, you're right. I don't get it. Okay, well, yeah. I think it's hilarious.
Right. As do most people that
people that actually watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it like we talked about Chelsea about, it kind of spans all age ranges.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen, early 20s up to me and Don who are in our 50s. I'm sure there are people older than us that like it as well. So yeah, it really crosses lots of boundaries. Yeah, challenges some boundaries.
Challenges. Yes, it does.
It definitely does.
There
was a pause. I was about to jump back in too soon. So yeah, some people just don't get it, and that's fine. But there's lots of people who just love it. I mean, it's
and it got better as the series continued. It was and yeah, I think that's the big thing that you need to keep in mind with any show that you're looking at that was made 4 or 5 years ago. They learned from that. There's a reason why they're still around.
Right.
So
and I've watched some of the behind the scenes,
right?
Yeah, I've watched some of the behind the scenes stuff, and because originally it was just done by Kiso and Nathan Dales, who plays Derry, and some of the other guys, just as a web series. And then when they brought Jacob Tierney in, who plays Pastor Glenn, to direct and write, they really wanted him to keep that same energy, so like the quickness of that. And so that's what he has been trying to do. Still keep that quickness, but kind of give it a little bit more flavor.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
make
think
it more accessible to not just people who get that particular.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, that's that's really been one of the things that it's grown and flowered so well. So another thing that we talked about was, even though in this episode there was, I don't even know if the Skids were in this one much, but
I don't think
we talked about our fondness of Stewart and how well Tyler Johnston is playing that character.
Most of the episodes that he's in are ones that I really, really like, especially when you watch interviews or watch anything with the actor himself, and he's nothing like like Stewart. It's he does such a good job playing such a unique character.
Yeah, Stewart is. He was great in Supernatural. I loved him in Supernatural too, because I'm a Supernatural fan. So yeah, he was great in that. So Tyler Johnston is, for me. I mean, when I saw him and I figured out who he was, I was like, oh my god, I love this guy. So yeah, it was really cool having him in there. So I'm looking forward to getting more with him. And I'd love to interview him, because he seems like a really
get him
awesome
on the
dude.
show.
So I'll reach out to him, and we'll see what happens. So who knows? It'll be fun. I think he seems like a decent dude.
Anything about that yet?
No, I'm a chicken shit.
Oh, you haven't done it yet?
No, I haven't.
Well, now that we've got 2 whole seasons done.
Yeah, I will. I will.
Now
I will.
You could be like, hey, you should listen to this thing where we tell everyone how awesome you are. And,
exactly.
Yeah,
he is awesome, and I've thought he's awesome for years now, even before this. So,
I remember.
I think,
hey, that's that.
Right.
What was his name?
Well, which one?
When he was the angel.
Oh, it was Samandriel.
Samandriel.
Samandriel. He was also, his human name was Alfie.
Alfie.
Because he was like in the hot dog on the stick.
Right. Oh, man.
He was
what season was that?
Heaven's sweetest angel. I think it was season 6.
Jesus, that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah. He was so young. Well, I remember he was in the very first season. He played a kid, a teenager, who liked bugs. And that was the name of the episode, was about bugs.
Oh, right. Yes.
They had built this.
That was the same guy?
Yeah.
That's Tyler Johnston?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
They built the housing place over, it was an Indian burial ground. So it was kind of a little poltergeisty / bugs episode. So yeah, we love Tyler Johnston. So I think my favorite term in this episode was about Wayne's the big eyes.
Yes, I agree with this 100%, because I absolutely give the big eyes. You know this.
that where you don't move your head, you just kind of look up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
the big eyes.
Give me the big eyes. I'm good.
But
that's also the scene right after that, isn't it? That Wayne sees Angie's name.
Angie's name on the
and it's
time
like
sheet.
Someone hits the brakes.
Yeah,
like you could hear the screeching.
Pump the brakes. And then my fafavorite term, or my favorite quote, because they're talking about, here's a tip, don't fart in a spacesuit. Squirrely Dan had the best one.
Here's a tip. It's really hard to get tuna out of your dick hole.
Oh my God.
Well, it's, sometimes when you're opening up a can of tuna and you pop a lap rocket.
No.
No? All right. Then we jump into episode 5.
Squirrely Dawn. Squirrely Dawn.
With my co-host from Podscure,
your homie.
Squirrely Dawn.
Squirrely Dawn.
This one is, Stuart has figured out that Katie could have had interest in him had he got his shit together.
Right. So he decides all of a sudden to try and get his shit together.
Right. And that, because one of the things she mentions was that she loved his mixtapes. She used to go into his house and steal his mixtapes. And so that made him say, oh, well, I need to get back on the ones and twos, being a DJ again. So that's what this one's about. But it starts off with, Derry getting bitten by a possum and getting the rabies. Right.
Oh, the poor possums. I love possums.
I know you do. And then we have a discussion
you think
about
they're scary.
No, I don't. I just don't think they're particularly pretty, but we have a discussion about possums.
So anyway, we're at the church, and and Glenn has a problem with a critter that's
a rodent.
Yeah,
gotten itself up under there somewhere.
So Wayne crawls down there, finds out that it's
he doesn't crawl down there. He
leans down there. He picks up the rug and sees that it's that it's a possum, and
which is armorless armadillo.
Yeah, and so he I don't know where he gets his knowledge, but this made me laugh.
Oh man,
and they're mutants. They have forked fucking penises.
It's true. I was like, that can't be real. I totally looked it up, but it's because female possums have 2 vaginal openings with 2 separate uteruses.
The more you know.
I know. I little crap like that is what my brain gets stuck on, and I was like, I gotta look this up.
So typically, the fountain of information has been Squirrely Dan.
True. Yeah.
So and so Wayne has been the bit of knowledge about the critters in this episode.
Right.
Yes. I was thinking when you were like, we talked about that. I was like, because I was talking about how cute they are and how I want to raise one from a baby.
No, because they've got forked fucking penises, and that's the evolution of DP.
Fuck you. Everyone at home, you're listening for moments like this when I just tell him to fuck off.
But also in this episode, we meet Tanis the first time, and we have a discussion of our first impressions of Tanis.
When Tanis makes her appearance, I thought, okay, well, obvious antagonist. I am supposed to dislike this person, but freckles and bossy and a little bit of ethnicity in there is just I can't be mad at her.
Same.
She's got some flair. I like her little.
Not Ric Flair.
Well, when she's got the cigarette in the one hand and the boys are barking and she does stop it.
Oh yeah,
she's in charge.
Oh hell yeah, and that's hot as fuck too for me. Right. I'll be absolutely honest with you.
Definitely a Leo.
All right,
if you believe in that stuff.
Okay, so I don't, but okay.
Neither do I, but hey, whatever.
Because if I did, that would be both of my parents, and ew. So no.
Oh yeah, your mom's not like that.
No,
Dad maybe a little bit, but he's a little he's a little take chargey.
You could say that, sure.
I mean, maybe not so much anymore, but he's definitely more than your mom.
Oh yeah.
So,
although and Mom, I know you're probably listening to this. Don't get me wrong. You were totally in charge, but you were in charge in the same way that the kids in my classroom think that they're in charge sometimes. So, anyway, I'm going to stop talking now.
So anyway, yeah.
I love you, Mom.
My favorite term learned in this episode was from Stuart. Shirt Tucker.
Shirt Tucker. That's right. And Don loved that term. Like, I think he was the one who wanted that in the Facebook poll. Right. He was like, Shirt Tucker.
Yeah. Because, everybody voted for D-Gen. He voted for Shirt Tucker, which came in a close second. But
I liked all of those options. When D-Gen was chosen, I was like, cool, I am so a D-Gen.
Yeah. But yeah, and my favorite character was Glenn. But my favorite line comes from Devin, which was, I love Stuart. Because Stuart had quit doing the meth business to go DJ for Katie.
And
they fucked it up, and nobody showed up, and then he's back to doing the
and
meth.
he felt broken, and he was pissed.
Right.
He was back because he wanted to fuck Letterkenny up at this point.
Yeah, with the meth.
With the meth.
So, which takes us into the season finale, A Fuss in the Backbush, with Grace.
Yay, Grace is my sister.
Which we did over your birthday weekend.
Yes.
Out at the coast. So
in an Airbnb out on the Washington coast. Which, by the way, can we do that again real soon?
Sure, yeah. Preferably when it's not fucking freezing and starting to snow.
It's about to be like 100 million degrees outside. Let's go to the ocean.
I concur.
Okay.
And again, we got back into talking about Stuart/Tyler Johnston.
Of course we did.
And this is what we had to say. But yeah, and you may have noticed in this, out of all the clips I pulled, I did not pull a single Stuart because he didn't really say much. This was, it felt like it was there was a lot about him,
and all in his face. You're an amazing actor, Tyler. You're amazing.
Yeah, he is. You can feel
the pain coming out of him. Yeah.
I mean, he does,
and the embarrassment and the shame of being
at the end of the rave,
the one
and
then, yes.
Oh God, yeah. And then the acceptance, sitting there all bruised and bloodied up with all of these people who were all bruised and bloodied up because you done fucked up, and they still stepped up for you. And now you're going to have Gus and Brow, fucking Modines with the whole crew.
That's right. So it was the acceptance of Stuart and how well Tyler does that role.
Yeah. And can I also just say that I love my sister.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen her in a while. I kind of miss her right now. Yeah. Hearing her voice made me kind of tear up a little bit.
We love you, Gracie.
We love you, Grace.
But then we get into something a little bit more poignant, talking about Wayne.
So in this episode, based solely on this episode, would you fight, fuck, or basically be like super bros with these particular characters?
Right.
Okay.
And so we'll start off
fuck, marry, kill, but
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So fight, fuck, FERDA. So we're going to start off with the Hicks.
Yes.
So we're going to start off with Wayne.
Based on this episode.
Right.
Fuck.
Okay.
Almost always fuck. Like I just want to see his O face.
He's probably squinted and
well, see, that's his normal look.
Lips.
I feel like his eyes would get really big, and like he would be like staring into your soul because it's the first time he's opened his like that's
just wide-eyed joy. Just
I imagine
Child of Christmas.
I imagine Wayne is a secret little.
He does.
Oh man, I was on it for this episode. Right. He's so buttoned up. Oh man, I'm funny sometimes. I was over here like clasping my mouth trying to laugh again. And I say that purely in I had never thought that I was funny before.
So do you think Wayne's O-face and Jared Kiso's O-face are the same?
Jared Kiso looks weird to me now when I see him not as
Because you can see his eyes.
Because you can see his eyes. And like he usually has the beard when he's not filming.
And a little bit of hair.
And a little bit of hair. And it's weird. Like we were, when we're doing the Psych rewatch recently and we saw the Psych episode that he was in and we were just like, oh, wow. And he was doing this accent.
Right.
That was very
not
posh and very like
L.A.
No. What was the one you referred to? Oh, I can never remember. From Gilligan's Island.
Oh, Thurston Howell the Third.
Thurston Howell the Third. That was Lover. It was hilarious and also really, really weird.
Yeah. So
It was like Wayne was on something.
Yeah, it was really odd. This episode was really about the skids causing problems in Letterkenny, making Letterkenny a meth town.
Mm-hmm.
And we the best
and how the fight started
between
the Hicks and the natives.
Right. And the best quote from the episode was from Tanis, which was,
"My balls dangle harder than you."
Nice. Now, we did leave one thing out. Yeah. The reason why it was called a fuss in the back bush was because they found some marijuana growing out on their back field.
Right.
And the whole money-making thing started when Katie mentioned that she would know somebody, and it turns out, we find out, that's actually Tanis's dad.
Right.
So...
Yeah, and so he's the one who says, you cultivate it out for me, and I'll give you $5,000 for it, and so.
And he was also the one at the end that told Wayne, "Hey, my daughter got screwed. You're gonna have to do something about that before she stops."
Right.
So
Wayne comes in and he handles it. It's not It's I guess one of those things where you're negotiating, and if everybody's not happy, then it's probably a good deal.
Yes. Yes.
Because he lost the new produce stand that they just built because she burnt that down. Mm-hmm. He had to give up the $5,000 from the weed that had been growing on his land
to replace the cigarette money that the natives weren't getting.
Right. Because
of Stewart. Who was trying to make money to rebuild the meth business. Right.
Because he was buying them at 10 cents.
And selling them for a buck, right?
Yeah. So, the little kid, they're fucking you. So
they're fucking us.
Yeah, and the term learned in this episode was from Derry about a stump hump.
Oh, yes.
Stump hump and bumper dump.
Bumper dump was the one for me.
But I don't think I've ever had a stump hump, but that would include having to go out into the wilderness somewhere to have a hump.
I guess, yeah.
So, you have to watch out for bugs.
Absolutely. You're grossing me out now. So.
Okay. All right. So, and that is the end of season 1. So,
wow.
I'm not sure.
Season 1, you were fun. Look at me.
You were number 1. Let me real quick. So
it's like, how far away are we holding this paper now, honey? Do we need to change your glasses?
Well, I was switching to season 2, but I forgot to say. So we did a vote on the episodes. The bottom 2 episodes, oddly enough, were episode 1 and 5 were both ranked the same. Okay. Episode 4 was Fart Book. I mean, the number 4 was Fart Book. Number 3, A Fuss in the Back Bush. Number 2, Wingman Wayne, with number 1 being Super Soft Birthday.
Okay, I'm not surprised about Super Soft Birthday. I'm a little surprised about some of the others.
Yeah. And the quotes, kids falling off bikes, as I said, was number 1. Number 2 was Florida State Seminole vesicles. Mm-hmm. Number 3 was hard to get tuna out of your dick hole.
Every time.
Yeah, those were that was season 1 in the books.
Wow.
So we're gonna take a quick break.
Yes.
And we're gonna come back and we're gonna put it through for season 2.
God, there's something wrong with us.
So hang with us. Back in a sec. Correct. Can confirm.
Ooh. Ooh, fancy.
Welcome back.
Hello.
We're going to talk now.
Now.
Okay. About we're going to talk about season 2.
Oh, we're going to talk about season 2.
We're going to talk about it.
So
one of the things that we didn't talk about at the end of season 1 was the fight that happened. So that we get introduced. Well, I wouldn't say we get introduced. We learn about. We meet Tyson, but he wasn't Tyson at the time. He was
right. Just some random dude.
Just a big guy or something like that. And he sucker punches Wayne. So that's how we end season 1. Season 2, we wake up and Wayne has collected himself. That takes place at some point during this first episode where there's, everybody said that was a sucker punch. So, and so Wayne has a new fight with him. They shake hands, and Wayne headbutts him, knocks him out. So that's
turnabout's fair play.
That's right. So that's the end of the fight. So this episode 1 is really about a coup at the Ag Hall. The episode is a fuss at the Ag Hall, and this episode we had with our friend Rachel, and she came and visited us and sat down with us, and we recorded with her here.
Yes.
And in this episode, we meet Jim Dickens, and we have a nice little chat about Jim Dick. Outside after the meeting, Jim Dickens.
That's right. Another character we know the whole name of.
Right. I think he's the first character. Oh no, after Bonnie McMurray, he's the second character we know the full name of.
Right.
So, Jim pulls Wayne to the side. He wants.
If Wayne runs for Ag Hall president, I'll give him one vote right here. We're looking at one vote here.
Well, see, now that sounds a bit dramatic to me, Jim. No.
Because Jim is an auctioneer.
Right. Jim is an auctioneer.
And everything he says is in that kind of cadence.
Right. So, yeah. And we meet Jim Dickens. We find out he's an auctioneer. Wayne says, I'll think about it and get back to you. Jim just keeps going on at the end.
Why do birds suddenly appear every time I auctioneer?
That's my favorite part of the whole episode. I laughed my ass off. It was just...
he's so tall. He's like 7 feet tall, looks like.
And then staring off into space with his big cowboy hat. Why do birds suddenly appear whenever I auctioneer?
So Jim Dickens.
Jim Dickens. I mean Dickens.
Dickens. Yeah. So, and then we also talk about the cleverness, the smartness in the writing, the little things. I mean, one of the things that I think is telling about the guys who created this, Kiso and Tierney, and, I'm sure, I don't know how much say or hear, Tyler Johnston has, but, the smartness in the writing, when they bring up this, then we get this very obscure reference to
the great playwright Anton Chekhov invented the principle of Chekhov's gun. What is the principle of Chekhov's gun? If in the first act you say a gun is in the room, then in the second act it must absolutely go.
So he's trying to call their bluff, saying that their EpiPens are inactive.
But I also want to totally point out that Anton Chekhov really was a Russian playwright.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is an obscure reference,
right.
Yes, that major intelligence to be able to pull that into a conversation. Let's be honest here.
Oh, yeah.
This is why I love this show. Because it's got some stupid shit in it. But then it pulls out this, and I'm like, oh, I need to go look this up. Oh my God, it's real. Now I need to go down a rabbit hole about this guy. Like, that's what happens to me with this show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it gets better and better.
Yeah.
The writing even more and more clever. I mean, with Tierney getting, directing and writing awards from the Canadian, whatever, their version of the Emmys.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
But that's we don't get the CBC here in the States. Or I mean, some people may, but we don't here in Seattle. So yeah, there's lots of little things. It's kind of playing catch up since what happened since last season. So there's with the hockey players, we learned a term called dinkerball because they're now playing with the senior team, and this it's very tense situation between Riley and Jonesy with now that they're moved up from the juniors to the seniors, and them being Riley and Jonesy just didn't quite fit in with the new guy,
with the more mature men,
right? Until they had to play Duck Duck Goose.
Oh God!
Because that showed
again.
Chekhov's gun to fart jokes,
right?
Hey, it's all in one episode.
It's very frustrating.
Because in that episode we find that Stuart has started dating Katie.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to pick her up. Wayne gives him my favorite quote of the episode.
Here's a poem. Starlight, star bright. Why the fuck you got earrings on?
Oh my god.
And Squirrely Dan calls him a polished turd.
I just love how every time he goes in for any kind of affection, she's like, yeah.
Right.
Like, you're like, huh, okay, all right.
So, yep. Then,
is this the first episode that we meet Mrs. McMurray?
Yes, it is.
When she's in the ag hall taking okay.
Yeah, so we meet Mrs.
McMurray.
Yep, we meet Mrs. McMurray in this episode.
So this is the first new character of the second season.
Right.
Because we got Tyson for like a half a second in the first season.
Right. So yeah, this is where we meet Tyson. We find out who Tyson is. We meet Mrs. McMurray. Wayne's taken over the ag hall. Not really that he wanted to, but he kind of gets talked into it.
And he got fed up with McMurray with all his ordinances.
And then we jump into the next episode, which is this is kind of a two-parter, I guess you could say, where McMurray is, because he's been ag hall president forever, and they have a whole thing where they're going to campaign for ag hall president for a week, and McMurray hires Devin to create a video that ends up being like the video that the anti-Trudeau video that happened when he was running up in Canada for prime minister.
Right, which I did not know about before this, which is interesting. We don't get a lot of Canadian news down here unless you seek it out, and I don't seek out news hardly. So if my sister who lives in Canada or my aunts and uncles or my cousins post something, I might see it. But in general, we're pretty fucking dumb when it comes to things that are happening important things that are happening up there.
Yeah. But I do kind of remember that being talked about after seeing that again on John Oliver, that he had talked about that. But so anyway, it's this competition of the competing campaigns. But Wayne
just wants to go and do chores without other people's chores without waiting around for thank yous.
The charitables.
That's it.
But we have a discussion with Luann about Katie and Devin, how that whole thing plays out. And there's this whole little banter that goes back and forth between Katie and Devin. How do
you feel about that situation with the Skids hating Katie so much?
I think it's awesome. Katie is one of my favorite characters.
Understandable, yes.
Like Katie and Tanis are like, I know they're just TV characters, but that's what I aspire to be.
Oh, I was going to say, you are kind of a mix of the two of them, aren't you?
I love how she just gives. Can I cuss?
Yeah, hell yes.
Okay.
Hell to the fucking no.
I love how Katie gives no fucks.
Absolutely.
About anything. Like she is just unapologetically Katie. And anytime anybody gives her shit about anything, she owns it. Like the comment that she made about find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life, when he was trying to like slut shame her for being
right.
players, and then she like pops her shoulder into him. I was like, oh, so good.
Right? It's like you think of every roller derby interaction you had that was negative and wish you could have been Katie in that moment.
I mean, I have been Katie in some of those moments. Let's be honest. But like, I just love how she is so unapologetic in who she is. And all of the women characters are written that way for across the board. They're such strong.
Oh yeah.
Like it's but like those Katie moments are like they're just my favorite.
Yeah, and it's still true. I mean, with the women characters on that show, how they are all very individual and not caricatures of.
This show passes the Bechdel test in every single episode at some point. I mean, there aren't a lot of female characters, but they're not usually talking about the boys.
Right.
So I find that really cool that they all have their own thing. And yes, they have love interests and such, but it's not a tropey. Like, fucking Katie was in a polyamorous relationship, or at least some kind of throuple.
Right.
I love that word. And you know, that was apparent, but it wasn't ever like shoved in your face. It was just like, oh, you know, she's got 2 boyfriends, we're gonna joke about it, ha ha ha.
Right.
So, you know, she's probably one of the most cunning people on the show.
Totally.
Not just the women, but in general through all of them. I love that.
Yeah, she's super smart, and that's another thing that we talk about. I mean, if you compare her to Riley and Jonesy, and
Cheated on us, boys.
Oh, pipe down, Pete and repeat. You were both getting blowies from your big city slams the entire time.
Dude, who told her about the blowies? Who blew the whistle on the blowies, bro?
You just did.
Fucking love that. I love that. I mean,
she's just so much smarter than like the way that she outsmarts them in that so many times.
Well, the bar is kind of low.
It is. It is.
You gotta,
and she seems to like it that way. She definitely seems to like to be the smarter one in the relationship.
I wonder if that's kind of why she went for the cunt kick on Tannis. Because they're both equally smart, so she just went straight to violence.
that does tend to be her move, though. That's the Katie.
If I can't outsmart you, here comes the kick.
And I love how it hasn't changed that Katie's still the one who starts shit with that.
Oh yeah.
That I know that as of this recording, we've actually recorded some of season 3, so I'm trying not to spoil anything.
Right.
But it's absolutely Katie's signature move.
Oh yeah.
Not just that, but doing it and then getting the fuck out of the way and letting everybody else fight the battle.
She obviously doesn't have a lot of upper body strength, but watch the hoof.
Right. Exactly.
It's coming. So yeah. And then we learned the term that we learned in this one was hockey term, PIMS, penalty infraction minutes, and the best line, in my opinion, came from Glenn, which was.
Where's my money, bitch?
Which was an ongoing thing throughout. Like Glenn said it, and some of the unnamed characters said it, and
and so that was. I didn't really have a favorite character this episode. There was, I mean, I suppose you could say, you know, that Katie is probably one of the highlights.
The Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
her washing or sitting on top of a hot rod in very little clothing.
Her brother's truck.
Her brother's truck, and eating a giant hamburger, and then just saying, McMurray's a piece of shit. Like that. I think that's one of my favorite. That's one of the biggest standouts for me.
So then we jump from that one into, so we're done with the elections. McMurray's back in office.
Yeah.
He's happy about that. Wayne's happy that he's happy.
Because he really doesn't care.
Right. Regardless of how boring and tedious McMurray is, he does a good job at the act. So we jump into episode 3, the relationships. We have our friend Victoria on with us, and we talked about, this was a very Squirrely Dan heavy episode. It was there, from my favorite character to my favorite quote as well. And we'll get to that. But we talked about K. Trevor Wilson and Squirrely Dan and how that all plays out.
Something about, they do have 6 different types of Captain Crunch. I heard this comics. He's talking about himself.
Oh, is that him?
K. Trevor Wilson was at a comedy festival in Montreal called Just for Laughs. I cannot pronounce it in French. He pronounced it in French. Yeah. And so he's like, he's a good guy. He's a little long-winded, but yeah, I'd say he's a good guy. Like, as soon as I heard them talking about that, I was like, wait a second.
Good piece of trivia.
Wait a second.
Yeah, nice.
So that just made me love my favorite scene even more.
And in fact, if you haven't seen his stand-up, he's got a piece on, there's on Netflix right now, there's a Comedians of the World where they go to different parts of the world and they spend a little time in Canada, and he's in one of the pieces from the Canadian part. And he's pretty damn funny. He's damn funny. And then, like I said, this is a very big Squirrely Dan episode because the next thing we talk about is our Fight Fuck FERDA. And let's see. So Squirrely Dan.
Yeah!
Squirrely Dan. He needs some attention paid to his butt.
That's who I wanted you to ask first because fuck yeah, fuck. After today's episode, I need to see Squirrely Dan in action because he got his nickname from somewhere.
Yes. I agree.
10,000 different ways. So, Victoria, you?
Yeah, we're in agreement on this.
All right.
Yes, Kate Trevor Wilson, you can't see if you're listening right now, but I'm totally wagging my tail with the idea.
Teach
all right.
you some things if you need to.
And speaking of, I was doing a little research on Kate Trevor Wilson. His real first name is Trevor. He put the K as his middle, something with his middle name. He put that in the front because there was already an actor named Trevor Wilson. So
that's funny.
Because of the union rules.
Yeah.
Change it up.
That's how we get a lot of actors' names. Michael J. Fox was from that somehow. Yeah. I don't remember.
David Bowie.
That's right. Because he's
David Jones.
Who is, hey, he's a monkey.
Right. So Squirrely Dan, best quote of the episode.
Oh, yeah, by far.
Well, not to be impolite, but this gal suggested that maybe I should have some attentions paid to my butthole.
Go for it, Squirrely
yes,
Dan.
Please.
So yeah,
Mom, cover your ears. Yes, please.
It's funny. It's, I think of the guys, Squirrely Dan is most like Katie. And I mean, he's smart. He's woke.
Yes.
He's willing to try things and, he knows who he is, I think.
Well, I think it's more Katie and Dan are, it's a good word. They are the anti-hero-ish type characters in that small town where you've got so much kind of buttoned up or not as learned. And then you've got these two people that really don't give a shit about what anyone else thinks about them, except for maybe the like 2 or 3 people in their very tight circle.
Right.
And
because you could tell he was uncomfortable talking to Wayne and Derry about it.
But them specifically, like
right.
Once he got it out, he was like, hey,
feels pretty good.
Right?
It felt natural.
Once he got it out, he was like, fuck you. Don't make that face. Don't be so tightened up. You have no idea how good this was. Like, that's like, I remember being that person who's like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And then, oh my God, yes.
Right, because this episode is also the Goldilocks and the 3 dates, and he goes on the one where it's this one's too hard, and where he's talking to her about you're not supposed to talk about politics and religion at the table, and then talking about feminism. He says, well, I trust my sister with just about anything except for this, because he knows that she would talk about religion, politics, or sex at the table.
Yes.
I think Dan would as well.
Yes.
So
absolutely. Which is why, throughout all of the seasons, Dan has probably been the one that I'm like, fuck the most, because I would go out on a date with Dan.
Yeah.
And have him drink a beer and I have a glass of wine and just let's talk. Let's just talk. Make me laugh and let's talk about whatever stream of consciousness you got going on right now.
Yeah, and I follow him on the Tweety, and he is also, and his for real is super woke and is very much a feminist but he has a girlfriend, and there have been times when ladies have said things kind of like that. He goes, well, I appreciate it. I have a girl and she's the only one I want.
Which is beautiful.
And so, yeah, he's a real good guy.
He's a real good guy.
Real good guy.
He seems like a good guy.
A little long-winded.
Like I said, and okay, so I amend that. Fine. Because I'm not talking about K. Trevor Wilson, even though it is a lot of his comedy.
I understand, yeah.
But yeah, I just want to sit down and have an intimate conversation with this character.
Sure.
Intimate does not have to imply anything beyond just sitting eye to eye with somebody.
Some depth.
Yes. I would love that.
Then from that we jump into episode 4. We didn't have any new terms that we learned in that episode. So the next episode 4 was the native flu, and we had my cousin-in-law Chris join us. He's also a hockey player, so we had him on for this episode because we had a lot of hockey stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things though that we hit on this episode was the amount of research Wayne put into finding out about ostriches.
Because the ginger in boots did not fuck an ostrich.
I love so much that Wayne researched what it would take to fuck an ostrich just so... because he's like, now I looked it up on the internet and...
Right.
Like, talking about how they headbutt and they kick and, you know,
that
all
they'll
of that.
fight a lion and how fast they run 70 miles an hour.
And if you're driving through a drive-through safari and you feed them out of your hands, they will bite your finger. I know this firsthand.
All right, then.
Good thing you have 9 more.
Ostriches are assholes.
Yes, yeah. I've heard this. I've definitely heard this. They also have these giant like talons on their feet that they can kick you with and impale you.
That's kind of, you know, probably that's the predecessor or the ancestor of some dinosaur somewhere.
Every bird is an ancestor of a dinosaur.
Yeah. So yeah, those talons definitely fit in with that.
I just went over that with my students not too long ago.
Faux show. And this episode is where a lot of people was the steak talk that happened in this episode.
Yes.
That's where a lot of people found out about Letterkenny, including Chelsea, because that's one of the things we talked about, was Andrew, her husband, had been passing that around. So yeah, there was the steak talk in this episode was perfect.
Yeah, because seriously, the way that Squirrely Dan describes the steak, my mouth just started watering.
Yeah.
Like, salt and pepper, fine, but urban garlic butter.
I generally when I do it, because we live in Seattle and it's not often quite nice enough to cook outside. When I do,
our barbecue gets rusty long before we get to use it more than once. Yes.
And when I do, I cook it outside on open flame with it's not coal. It's with just
propane.
With propane and propane accessories. And
God damn it, Bobby, there better be a neck chili under there.
So it's either that or when I cook it in the house, I do it in a cast iron skillet, sear it on each side, and then put some butter on the top because it's already got the garlic.
We're gonna have to have steak for dinner. Fuck you. We're gonna.
And so
urban garlic butter.
Yep.
Yep. You season with salt and pepper.
Yep.
Pan sear it, urban garlic butter. Throw it in the oven about 4 or 5 minutes.
Yep.
Come out. I don't have a grill because we're living in New Orleans in an upstairs house, and so we don't have a grill,
right?
So we don't get the good grill marks, but put it in the oven. Oh, it's so juicy.
Yeah.
So
delicious. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You don't need the grill mark. Grill marks are not important. You need the seared in flavor with all that juice.
Oh my god. Okay. So we've already eaten, and now
now you want steak.
I want a steak so bad.
Good thing I've got steak in the freezer.
We're having steak for dinner tomorrow night. Yeah, we are. Look at me. We're having steak tomorrow night. Okay? Yeah. All right.
So yeah, and two things we learned. My favorite term that I learned was penthorophobia, which was fear of your mother-in-law, and which then led to a quote from Boomtown, which was,
"I love my mother-in-law like I love my wife."
And you got to wonder, what does he mean by that exactly?
I'm a good man. Oh, I love Boomtown.
I love Boomtown.
How can you not?
He needs like an enema or something. Someone slip him a pot brownie. Just let him relax a little bit. Just lay off the coffee.
Yep.
Just chill.
But so this was so there was my favorite character in this episode was Tanis, of course.
She's going to be probably both of our favorites in any episode that she's in.
Because she brought Wayne
the three-legged dog.
Two three-legged
dogs. Oh,
fuck. A three-legged
fuck.
dog. And look, Wayne, another three-legged dog.
I mean, in that moment, you're like, oh, she's got his number.
Yep.
And that, I think, really was the start of, I think the start of the sexual tension was the end of the fight where he hands her the $5,000, where she was like, oh, I can respect this dude. And this is like the next time they're meeting. And they end up very close, face to face, where she's holding 2 3-legged dogs that just appeared out of nowhere. It sounds like a little bit like she's his dream girl a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was funny because earlier with the fuss in the back bush, Derry was one who was sweet on her.
Right.
So I was kind of wondering if that was gonna be attempted, if that was the first thought was that Derry was gonna end up with Tanis or something, but
maybe, or maybe it's just this because he changes who he's sweet on.
Yep.
Anytime.
Because next is in this very next episode, Uncle Eddie's Trust.
Yes.
Because it features heavily Bonnie McMurray. Because there's that scene where Squirrely Dan and Derry walk up, and Derry says, "Hi, Bonnie." Hi, Derry. And then Dan says,
"No." She says, "Hi, Dan" first.
Oh, hi, Dan.
Hi, Derry.
This episode is about Uncle Eddie, who has passed away.
Good guy.
And
good guy, Uncle Eddie.
Really good fucking guy. Has given money, an inheritance to Wayne and Katie for them to do something to give back to the community. And so they basically put on an episode of Shark Tank. We talk about after they post the what they're going to do
on Facebook.
There's this little montage that takes place.
They decide that they're going to put it on Facebook.
Right.
And so we start seeing it being passed around to everybody we know.
Right. So it's a whole
which
montage.
Which one is your favorite one?
Oh, Gail on the side of the road. I remember the first time I saw this, I didn't really.
The first couple of times we saw this episode.
And I said, Gail is over on the side of the road with her hand in her pants. She is not taking a piss because she's standing up.
Right. If Gail was biologically male, we would assume that they're pooping. That they're peeing on the side of the road.
Right.
But unless she has some anatomy that
she's rubbing one out.
No.
She's over on the side of the road rubbing one out.
Which is so perfectly Gail.
Gaylor just had to take care of it. That's all.
Well, when you
rides that bike
around on a bumpy.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how she stands it. I'm surprised she actually doesn't have a vibrator built into her bike.
Well, she doesn't need one. She rides a rocky road. Hey, that was Michael on with us on that episode, talking about that. And so, there was some. We go through all the pitches, and there was some questions that we got from the Facebook on that. Got a couple of questions from Facebook.
Oh yes.
So from Steve Jones, which pitch would you have chosen?
That's a good question. All of them are pretty terrible.
I think out of all of them, probably the one that made the most sense to me would have been Storage Wars. I mean,
and I probably would have voted for Gail's.
The Bachelor.
But I don't view sex in the same way that Wayne does, obviously.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if everyone's a consenting adult, if everyone is a consenting adult, then do what you want to do, boy.
Yeah, well, and like my opinion of that too is if I'm going to invest in something like a TV show like that, I know sex sells, so I'm going to make a bunch of money off of that one.
Hell yeah. That's the whole reason why Bachelor's been going on for 500 years.
Yeah. So so you're going with Gail as well?
I'm going with Gaylor.
All right. Yeah.
Awesome. How difficult was it for you? Me personally knowing you, how difficult was it for you to leave that long pause in there?
It wasn't.
Okay, because it wasn't your pause?
No.
Well, I love you dearly. I know that that's something that you have worked on.
I think, there are reasons for pauses, because we're thinking about things, so I can understand that.
Well, that was it was perfect because we were all like,
right. It's because they're all terrible. And then from one of the best quote came from Glenn in this, which was after his his pitch for the America's Got Talent, where he said,
"This is not fucking Glee."
Which was, I think that was the first time that we've heard Glenn swear.
Yeah.
So he was. And
kind of find out that he has a bit of an asshole side because he saw stardom and he wanted to get there somehow.
Yep.
And figured his best way to do that was to, essentially abuse these poor three boys and tell them how terrible they were when he was the terrible one.
Yep.
I love it. And I laugh, but I also cry a little because I knew people like that growing up.
And then which ended up throwing a party because they were mixing donkey juice, which was the term that we learned for this episode, was donkey juice, which is you just mix all the different booze together and then you have a spit, which is vomiting. Basically, that's their term for vomiting.
These guys, they're binge drinkers.
Oh yeah, well they're constant drinkers. I mean, I wouldn't say they're binge drinkers.
They're all functional alcoholics who binge drink on the weekends and on holidays.
But yeah, then we jump to the season finale. Now, this is not the end of the season, but it is the season finale episode.
Yes.
It is Finding Stormy and Stud, and we had Curtis on.
Yes.
And basically the nutshell of this episode is that Gail is trying to help Wayne find a stud for his German Shepherd Stormy, which is very difficult because she keeps trying to kill her studs.
It's not consensual. She's not into it.
She's not. I'm not having this.
Don't blame her, Gail.
But one of the things that I had brought up in this episode was that we're all kind of a mix of the different types of people in Letterkenny.
Personally, I find myself a mix of Hick and Skid.
Ooh, that's a good thought.
So, that's my mix of D-Gen. What do you consider yourself having a mix of that, or you more Hick than Skid, more Skid than Hick?
Way more Hick than Skid, especially growing up.
Yeah.
Musically, I'd be like a combination of all of them. But
true. Yeah.
Yeah. Temperament and clothing wise and whatnot, it was definitely Hick.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. Growing up in Texas, you can imagine.
Oh, you're going to love my answer.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Growing up in Seattle, I was a mixture of a Skid and a native.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Flannel, angry,
sure.
Smoking too much, listening to terrible music. I didn't do the drugs though. So, but
didn't you?
Not those.
Really?
No, actually I didn't.
All right then.
I absolutely never tried anything super hard because no.
You never hoovered schneef.
No.
You never hoovered any Kurt Cobain schneef.
Well, I look back on it now and I realize that some of my weird, because I've got a lot of weird stuff. I am autistic and I do have things that I know are not social norms. And one of the things is I am violently opposed to anything going up my nose at all. And I mean and up my nose or down my throat without my intention. I'd like to remind everybody that they tried to do general anesthesia to put a camera down my throat, and I ended up biting the guy, and so they decided, nope, got to be full anesthesia for you. So I wasn't, I had friends who did coke. I was like, cool, whatever. I had friends who did crystal meth, which then turned into a very terrible meth problem that I know that at least two of my childhood friends succumbed to. But I tried mushrooms. I tried other kind of psychedelics that kind of fuck with your brain, but nothing that was like, I'm watching people die on it. And
so you wouldn't snort it. You wouldn't hoover the schneef.
I would not hoover the schneef.
What about hooping?
Remind me again.
That was the term this episode when you take it rectally.
Yeah, no, so that's a thing that didn't get thought of, at least not in my circles. Because I'm sure that if there was any way that somebody at my high school knew that you could take a drug anally or take alcohol anally, I'm pretty sure the entire school would have known this because we were we were not the best students. I was one of the gooder, the more good.
The more gooderer. Right.
I never got suspended.
Uh-huh.
Very rarely got caught doing anything.
It's always legal if you don't get caught.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And Mom, I know that you knew I was smoking pot. We've had this conversation. I'm a big old pothead. I don't do it for work. I do it at home. And when I was a kid, it was the same way. Except I didn't think of school as work. So.
Sure.
Anyway.
So then we kind of get into something that Curtis had picked up on was the threes in this episode. The three different dog types, and so that was one of the things about how smart they are with the way they do these episodes.
Oh, right. Wait. So he meets
Rosie,
this really beautiful girl,
right.
and he's like, flirting with her already.
Exactly.
And then Angie walks up. I want you back. And then Tanis calls.
Yep. I'm pregnant.
Oh, fuck.
While she's smoking, by the way.
While she's smoking, yes. I'm pregnant.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's part of the continuing theme of the trio within this episode. In that there's three things for Wayne there. He meets the perfect girl who's essentially just like him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Down to the male dog that's gonna, fix Stormy, as
right.
it were. And
the dog was described by Gail as being like Wayne.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because Gail had been describing all of the studs. Yeah.
Quiet, good guy.
Hard
good
worker.
Guy.
Hard worker. Good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Sounds like a real good guy.
Real good guy.
And so you see these threes, like from the skids.
Yep.
There's 5 skids, but you just see the 3.
Right.
You
exactly.
see Jonesy and Riley and Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
You see, because Katie's been gone a long time from the produce stand, you see the 3 of them.
Right.
Wayne, Jerry, and Squirrely Dan.
Right.
And everything that occurred in the thing is basically in a trio. The 3 women in Wayne's ending. The 3 opportunities for Riley and Jonesy that ended in, Katie's the only one who doesn't do the trio thing. And she is basically a huge motivator in the episode, a force of transition, as it were.
So, yeah, even at the very beginning, if we talk about the hoovering of either Schneef or Fun Dip, and then Hoopin', and then finally, which is the best quote of the episode is,
I guess Fun Deep Dick Dinger wouldn't be the ends of the world.
You want to know what I heard my friends JP and J-Dub talk about Fun Dip Dick Dingers one time?
Fun Dip Dick Dingers.
Who were his friends that he heard about? I just caught that. Play it again.
I guess Fun Deep Dick Dinger wouldn't be the ends of the world.
You want to know what I heard my friends JP and J-Dub talk about Fun Dip Dick Dingers one time?
Okay, who's JP and J-Dub?
Don't know. Research.
Listeners, if you have any thoughts on the mysterious JP and J-Dub, let us know.
So that was the end of the season. And then we have a special episode for the St. Patrick's Day episode, which ended up being episode 7.
Yes.
We had
kind of a standalone episode.
Right. And we had Steve Jones on with us for St. Perfect's Day. Steve Jones, who actually put in one of the question that we answered from Facebook from the Uncle Eddie's Trust. And so basically this is recounting the legend of Derry at the St. Patrick's Day party there at the Ag Hall. So
because he was legendary.
But one of the things that we had talked about was, where does this episode fit in the timeline?
I don't know when this would have been filmed. I mean, they were definitely all in T-shirts sitting outside, and they're not nipping out. So.
Right, and Katie's in the short shorts.
Yep. So my guess is that it's definitely of a better temperature than.
Well, just because, I mean, they live in an area, and this is just going on what we know since we don't really know, but they live in an area where they go ice fishing in the winter.
Right.
And if it gets cold enough for ice fishing in the winter, it's generally not shorts weather in the middle of March.
Well, because this is a one-off episode, here's the other thing. Because where we're talking about in this, where Wayne and McMurray are talking, he's talking about the D-gens. McMurray's upset about him and says, we got the hockey players doing security. And when you see the hockey players, it's Riley and Jonesy, and it's the juniors.
Yeah.
So my guess is this is a cutaway from when Riley and Jonesy are still with the juniors.
So before season 2, even.
My guess, yeah, that's my guess.
That's a good theory.
So that's where that comes in. Is that this is, and that's why this is a standalone episode. I don't know if they meant it to be that way, or if
something they had filmed earlier
Yeah.
that didn't quite fit with the season.
Could be.
Yeah.
And so but they didn't want to get rid of it, so they did it a special
It was a great
episode.
episode.
Great fucking episode.
Oh, hell yeah. It's probably near one of my favorites.
Yeah, because, best character, Squirrely Dan as Pitter Patty, the leprechaun.
Patty.
But yeah, then we talk about why, what the fuck is up with Sammy Sandwich?
Right. Why is he so... why Sammy Sandwich is so angry. Right? Like, he didn't seem to have a problem with Squirrely Dan until Squirrely Dan put on the leprechaun outfit. So it was obviously something like, oh, you're wearing a costume now too, so now we got to fight. Why?
That must be a mascot thing.
Yeah, it must be.
Well, it's because he wasn't getting any of the girls. So
see, that was my first thought. But then
that's probably what it was.
Well, yeah, because then he probably was following Katie with the D-Gens and just happened to be singled out by Derry because he was in a giant sandwich.
Well, and he had started shit before with
and he had started shit.
So he was going to jump him for sure.
Yeah.
That damn Sammy.
I still don't really. I mean,
what the fuck, Sammy? When you're a drunk sandwich.
Right. I feel like somewhere along the lines, the dude behind Sammy Sandwich was a student who should have been in my classroom. Because you don't need to just walk up to people and start shit, man. Come on. Shh. We don't need to do that. We don't need to. Remember, it's up to you.
That's right. Count to 10.
Close your eyes. Take a deep breath.
Have a sandwich. Count to 10. So yeah. So like I said, Squirrely Dan definitely stood out. Even though Derry was legendary, and he had some great dance moves in that episode.
Yes.
I mean, if you can dance, if you can hop up and down like that, crouch down, kick out like those Russian dancers while holding 4 cups of beer.
5. Didn't he have one in his mouth in that scene?
Did he? Oh, well, he could be.
Or was that the scene where he had one in each hand and one in his mouth? That might have been.
Yeah.
Because there were both of those.
He drank a lot of booze in that.
He drank
episode.
a lot of
He did
beer.
black out. So
absolutely. Which brings us to your favorite character. My favorite kind of question.
Right.
Or not your favorite character, but your favorite question.
Yeah. So
there
weren't
any.
Dude? Yeah. So the Seth, who basically took them to and from the Ag Hall.
Yeah.
Turns out his real name is Seth. Seth Gagnon. He was the transportation captain for the episode Fuss at the Ag Hall. And so far, this was his only credited acting gig. Mostly everything else he does has been transportation for
he was
lots of different shows.
Dude, can I be an extra on your show?
I guess so.
That's fucking awesome.
They pulled him in there. So
I love that.
That's his name, Seth.
Awesome,
Gagnon.
Seth. You are awesome, and thank you, Dean, for clearing up that question.
He's a damn good guy. Taking those guys back and forth. So yeah, great episode, and yeah, the quote of the episode,
yes,
from Wayne.
Then I shall be a poopy pants.
And he said that in reference to nobody's having fun anymore.
Right.
At least that's what Murray was saying.
And no reason to be a poopy pants if everybody's having fun.
Nobody's having fun. Well,
then I shall be a poopy pants.
And this is also the episode where Katie and Mrs. McMurray hooked up.
What?
She's not.
And they swapped tops.
And they swapped tops. And Katie didn't seem so enthusiastic on the way out.
What's funny about it is, even though they swapped tops, continuity issue, like with the movie that we were watching a little bit earlier, they swapped tops when they out of the bathroom. They had each other's tops on, but coming back to the farm, Katie's got her top back on. So
somewhere along the line, she got her shirt back.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
And she didn't have lipstick all over her face anymore. So she cleaned up a bit, I guess.
Or she carries spare shirts for moments when that happened.
Right. So that was the end of season 1 and 2, our recap.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I am so thoroughly excited that we have people listening to our weird shenanigan-y conversations about a show that when we started just a few months ago was relatively obscure and now has really picked up a massive following.
Totally.
Because when we started recording this, just the first couple of seasons were on Hulu.
Right.
And then like a massive dump of episodes came out and people were like catching this show because it's obviously awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited for the dudes who do the show, not us, of course. I mean, we're cool, but whatever. They're these guys who are just hanging out with their friends and doing something that they thought was cool. And now they're
kind of like we are with this.
Kind of like we are with this, yeah. Wouldn't it be cool?
Yeah. I mean,
Wouldn't it be nice?
I mean, yeah, because really, I mean, this is what he's doing is Jared Kiso is doing this. I mean, he
was acting.
19.2 is over.
Mm-hmm.
So that was because which I found out. So that was the cop drama show that he was on.
Right.
Which was actually the English Canadian version of a French Canadian version of that show.
Oh, good Lord.
So, but yeah, that was just 4 seasons. That's already over. But he's kind of like how the Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki from Supernatural are. I'll keep doing this as long as they let me.
Mm-hmm.
You know. or until I'm tired of doing it.
Which seems to be what has happened now with Supernatural.
Right.
They've announced that this is going to be their final season.
Right. So
which is awesome because it's spanned your oldest almost entire life.
Yeah.
And that's pretty fucking cool if you ask me. Like some of the shows that are considered classics, quote unquote, impress me way less than this show that doesn't take itself seriously. And that's one of the things I love about Letterkenny.
Yeah.
Like it's really good writing. It's really smart.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny, and it absolutely makes fun of itself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's engaging. It's well thought out, you know, so, it's not just, you know, sometimes they do dumb for the sake of being dumb, but there's plots in there, you know, that follow through. There are threads. So yeah. And, you know, and something about this show has stirred up, you know, a following from across political, gender, age, you name it,
country, language.
Right. I mean,
there are people listening to our podcast that English probably isn't their first
Right.
language. And they don't live in the United States. That's so crazy to me.
And please come back.
Yes, we will be back with season 3 soon.
In about a week.
All right. Yeah, we've already got 2
We got
episodes.
two in the can.
Yeah, the reason, and I want to be the one to take the apology hit for this episode coming out probably 2 days late because I'm not gonna let Dean stay in here and edit until midnight tonight. I am having some stuff going on that he's being very supportive and kind to me about, and letting me kind of figure some stuff out right now. So. Thank you, baby, and thank you for being patient with me on this. And I'm really excited for our next episode that we're recording, which will be 3 episodes from what you're listening to now.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to having you back next week.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of How Are You Now? If you like us, subscribe and give us a nice review. If you don't, well, we're not for everyone, but we thank you for listening anyway. If you'd like to contact us for any reason, we can be found on Facebook at How Are You Now Podcast. We can also be found on Twitter and Instagram at How Are You Now Pod, and via email at howareyounowpod@gmail.com. We'd like to thank our good friend Jack Rainwater from the Hard Money Saints for allowing us to use their music for our intro and outro. You can find them on Reverb Nation at Hard Money Saints. See you DJs soon.
It's been too long since baby's been to town. time and that good loving every night. I said, oh.